Hey guys, happy Godzilla Day. Today we're going to be reviewing something very special of mine. Well, it's not too special, but special for today. So today I'm going to review the original NECA 1954 Godzilla, which is the best figure I have ever owned. So if you notice, there is a little reward on Godzilla's neck. This is actually a Toho award I made all the way back in the last Godzilla Day, which I know it says Toho Animation, but yeah, this is from my sister's collectible anime figures, and it had this Toho Animation logo, so I cut that out of the box and put it on this 3D pen, 3D printed, whatever the hell it is, award. And then, yeah, it can go onto his neck. It also works for any other Godzilla figures. Like this one right here. Alright, so let's get on to the review. So I'm going to remove the atomic breath piece for now. And let's get on to paint. So, I got this figure all the way back in, like, 2021, I believe? Yeah, 2021. So, yeah, this is a pretty old figure, like my other NES Godzilla figure. So, yeah, this figure has a lot of paint chippings on the dorsal plates. And that's pretty much it, because this entire figure is black and white, to represent that of the original 1954 film. Now, time to go over a problem I had with this figure. So, here's a problem I had with the figure. When I first got it out of the box, the jaw was really tough and it wouldn't open. So I used a tool to pry it open, and now it opens. And if I keep it open for long enough, it will go back to that state. So that's why I always keep it open when I'm displaying it. That's pretty much the only problem with this figure. Other than that, this figure is absolutely amazing. Alright, time for articulation. The jaw can open, obviously, which is something for these rare NES Alright, so the jaw can open, which is a rare thing. Alright, so the jaw can open, which is something that a lot of Godzilla figures can do, especially these expensive ones. Alright, first I'm gonna go over a fun fact about this figure. So, this figure, hold on. So, this figure and this figure I got at the same time because it was my birthday. Yeah, I got two of these figures on my birthday. But at the time, at Walmart, they only cost about $20. This one was just the last of the Heisei Godzillas they had. And they had two of these figures. So yeah. Also, I would go over the Heisei Godzilla, but this is about the original 54 Godzilla, so do not ask where that sound came from. Alright, so back to articulation. The jaw can open. There are 2 points of articulation at the neck. One right here at the head, and one at the base. The entire torso can swivel, but the dorsal plates will get in the way a bit, but that's fine because the dorsal plates are made of a soft material. Unlike some other Godzilla figures made by NECA, which have really hard dorsal plates. Here's an example right now. Here's my very first NECA Godzilla figure. It's also the most articulated one I have. This is the 2019 Godzilla from Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, I brought him here because his dorsal plates are really hard. Yeah, compared to this Godzilla, the dorsal plates are really soft on this one. But on this one, the dorsal plates are hard and can't bend that way. So yeah, this is kind of a safety hazard, but not a big safety hazard. Now, if someone were to make a Godzilla with an actual atomic breath that can burn things, that would be a major safety hazard. Alright, back to articulation. The arms can move all the way around. So I'm trying not to bump the camera. The elbows can bend. The hands can swivel or twist. And they could also move in and out, but not that much. Oh yeah, also, here's a thing that I thought was only with SH Monster Arts figures, which are too expensive for me to actually buy, which is why I don't own any. But the hands, or the knuckles, can actually move. So Godzilla can punch things. Punch. Alright, I don't know if the camera is focused enough on the hand, but yeah, it can move at the knuckle. Which is honestly very cool. Alright, for legs, they can swivel all the way around. But I'm not going to because it's kind of stiff and this is a rare figure and I don't want to risk breaking it. The knee can... Oh, hold on. The knee can bend. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but the knees are very stiff. Which is another common problem with these figures. Oh yeah, also, it can swivel at the foot. Now here's one weird thing about the tails. Yeah, I just had to position the camera up right. Alright, so here's a common problem with the tails. Alright, so time to go over the tail of this figure. Now, if you own one of these figures, you know that... Hold on. The tail can move at the base, at this area right here, and this part right here. But almost at the end of the tail right here, it's one massive piece of plastic that has wire in it so it can bend. Yeah, so there's wire in here, which means it could break. Now here is another example with another one of my NECA Godzilla figures. Alright, so after we got the reason why I can't have any NECA Godzilla figures anymore out of the way, let's go on to the details. So, it does look pretty accurate compared to the original 1954 Godzilla. It has these... Hold on. It does have the ears, which is something I found weird about the original Godzillas when I first got my first ever Godzilla figure, which, hold on. Once again, do not ask where the sound came from. Alright, now, at the start of the video, I did say that the paint chippings were... the paint chippings on the dorsal plates were the only ones I could find because this entire figure was black and white to represent the original Godzilla film. And that's one of the major things about this figure. I also chipped one of the teeth, which I just barely realized. But that's not what we're going for. Alright, you might not be able to see because of the lighting, but the tongue is also black and white, or gray, to represent that feeling. So yeah. Other than that, I had nothing else to say about this figure. Other than this figure is absolutely amazing and you should definitely buy it, even if it's expensive. Alright. So, do not buy this figure. Well, if you want, you can, but I don't recommend buying it because of how costly they are now. But if you were there at the time I was at Walmart in 2021, or at least if you were there at the time the NECA Godzilla figures were being released, they probably cost a lot less. In fact, they might have cost more than the new Haya Toys figures, which I plan on getting in the future, if I can find them. So yeah, you shouldn't buy these. Well, once again, it's up to you. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to buy these expensive figures, because the line is discontinued. So yeah. Alright, it's been 30, well, not 30, 13 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, it's been 13 minutes, so I'm gonna go over the only accessory this comes with, or the accessory that a lot of these figures come with, the atomic breath piece. Now, obviously, you're supposed to shove it into his mouth, like that. Yeah, you shove it into his mouth, and yeah. The atomic breath piece is white because, once again, it's supposed to represent the original 54 film. And it's also supposed to represent the smoke that comes out of his mouth. Yeah, his atomic breath is originally called an incandescent light and looks like smoke. Also, I don't know if there are any colorized versions of the original 54 film, but I kind of want to see it so I know what the original suit's color looked like and the original atomic breath. Also, here's a fun fact about these figures. So, I'm not sure about this, but I believe these figures came in a packaging where, hold on. Okay, good thing I had the original MonsterVerse packaging for the MonsterVerse Godzilla that I got all the way back in 2020. But still, this is what they now come in. Well, this is what they are now coming in. And if you see in here, there's a little background and a flat that shows the figure. In this case, MonsterVerse Godzilla. And it also has a background you can remove. And if you get a Godzilla figure with an atomic breath piece, it will be packaged in that. However, originally they came in different packaging, and they didn't include the atomic breath piece. But when I got mine, they updated the packaging and included the atomic breath piece in the original. So yeah. This figure did not come in a box like the MonsterVerse Godzilla, but still came with the atomic breath piece. So you can't say anything about it! Okay, after all that, this review is finally over. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Godzilla Day, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers at the end of this year, or whenever possible. So if you enjoy my content, you should subscribe. Or don't, it's really up to you. Here is the figure with all the accessories. Well, this accessory they come with, you can make it if you have a 3D pen or a 3D printer or whatever the hell you have. But still, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. And happy Godzilla Day.